I mean, this is one of the most painful bits of all, but mainly the most painful bit for Muslims. If you question most Christians and followers of other religions, and you know about this bit where Lot does this, or where X does that, or Y does that. Most Christians actually, not to smear them, but they're not that knowledgeable about the text. They've imbibed a version, and then they're a bit tricky, and they'd rather not go over, and some of them have been properly chucked out, and everyone realizes you don't do that, and other bits you just sort of never have that reading in church, and every Christian knows this, but pretty much they've imbibed the New Testament, and it's sort of not dissimilar from the teachings of Buddha and yoga, and everyone gets on with it all right. With Islam, there's undoubtedly this big additional problem, which I refined it by saying, imagine if everyone concedes the history of Christianity has been bloody, really bloody, particularly on my continent. But would the history of Christianity have been A, more bloody, or B, less bloody, if even on one occasion when a disciple comes to Jesus and says, Lord, how should I treat my brother if he offends me? If Jesus had said, your brother offended you, chop his head off. I think we could all agree the history of Christianity would be more bloody. Imagine if instead of being a celibate, even at the time of his death in his early 30s, Jesus had the, should we say, complex relationships with the female sex that Muhammad did. Would there be more child abuse scandals within the Catholic Church if Jesus himself had been widely regarded to have been engaged in paedophilia? Almost certainly more. Definitely not less. So these are deep waters, but the deep waters you might as well plunge in. These are really big problems, and the answer that some people have done is to say it's not there. These problems don't exist. You're not reading the text. You don't speak Arabic of the time, and you're a liar. But the truth is that more of us than ever before can read from the internet, and we can see this stuff. And so people are getting worried. And so as a result, apologists for Islam in particular, and Muslims, find themselves having to engage in this. And I think that can be a healthy thing. And I think it might, as I say, because a lot of Muslims just have no idea about this. They're like, well, I was told that Muhammad was this terrific guy who was never put a foot wrong, and he was nice to his mum, and all that. And so when somebody comes along and says, he did this, he killed these prisoners when he captured them in conflict, they say, really? They're horrified by it. But maybe they'll return to the texts and find a way through this. Maybe.